Welcome to episode 183 of Fourth and John. This is an emergency podcast. This is kind of like the day that we kind of not have we been all been waiting for this in a positive light, but in a negative light. I think it's the day. It is the day. Carson Wentz has been traded. I know some people are really in their feels. Obviously, we've been waiting for this. But at the end of the day, you got to look at this organization. You got to look at what they're doing, the moves that they're making. We're like 3 years removed, almost 4 years removed from the Super Bowl, and this team has been kind of dismantled. You're losing a franchise quarterback. You drafted a quarterback last year in the second round. You named it the QB Factory. It's not the QB Factory. It's the laughing factory right now. We are the laughing stock, the NFL right now. You talk about Houston Texans. We are the Philadelphia Eagles, but we're there right now. So I think it's been a huge failure by the front office for us to even be here. Mr. Evan Hurd made a point that Carson Wentz has been riding with this podcast. We started the podcast when he was drafted, so it hurts the heart that Carson Wentz is not here. He's not going to be here with us anymore. At the end of the day, you can sit here and say, Carson Wentz, if his story was meant to be to help us get to a Super Bowl, help this team go on a playoff run, and him being a part of that, if that was his story and the football gods wanted that to be, let it be. We got a Super Bowl that year. He was a part of that. And for that, we say thank you. But this is the reality. This is the reality here. Carson Wentz is traded, and we are now left to pick up the pieces, my guys. So, Evan, starting off with you, Evan, how are you feeling right off the bat?
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, we all were anticipating this day to finally come. It's been talked about for months at this point, and to finally see what the return that we're going to be getting is, it's laughable. I think that everybody that is a Philadelphia Eagles fan, everybody that's in this room right here, we were all very disappointed to see what we got in return for Carson Wentz. Albeit, he had not a great year last year. Here it is right here. The Colts acquire Wentz in exchange for a 2021 third-round pick and a conditional 2022 second-round pick. The second-round pick will turn into a first-round pick if one of the two following conditions are met. Wentz plays at least 75% of the Colts' offensive snaps, or if Wentz plays 70% of the Colts' offensive snaps and Indianapolis makes the playoffs in the coming year. So to me, that says two things. One, A, we didn't get enough. We couldn't even get 2 twos for Carson. B is, like, even if we end up getting that first-round pick next year, that is going to depend on Carson Wentz doing well this following year. And if Carson Wentz does well, that means the Indianapolis Colts are going to do well. And that pick is going to be in the back end of the first round. And if we don't get that pick, it's going to be a second-round pick. It's pretty disgraceful. I'm not going to lie. And I'm looking at Howie Roseman, and I'm just sitting here, and I am so disturbed. I am turned off. I am just bothered by the fact that this man still has a job in Philadelphia. Gail, you always open up the show with a quote. I've got one, and I don't know who is the person that originally came up with it. I think it's just one of those old wives' not old wives' tales, but one of those just old sayings. A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. That's exactly what happened in the 2017 season. Howie Roseman got lucky. The stars aligned. We got a Super Bowl. I'm thankful for it. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't trade the Super Bowl for the world, but Howie Roseman got it right one time, and he's been here for 2 decades. It's gone on too long, man. And I've been saying it this entire offseason. I stand in the camp of, if Howie Roseman is here, this shit ain't going to work. That's where I'm at.
Oh, Jimmy, how you feeling?
A little perturbed myself. We thought maybe we could get a couple second-round picks. Gail, you were one that mentioned, you wanted a first and a third. Well, it could almost work out to be that way. A little upset at first when you first see that it's a third-round pick this year. You're like, damn, I was really hoping we could work a little magic in this year's draft. But look, this is a few-year rebuild we're looking at. So you're going to save cap $30 million next year with Carson. So I'm trying to look at the positive here. But the negative is Howie Roseman's still here. And what did we talk about all last year? That if Howie Roseman was still here, then we were all going to be very pissed. So look at all the faces here and realize that we're not happy. I'm not happy. But if it turns into a first-round pick, I guess we'll all be rooting for Carson a little bit. Stay healthy, young man. Best of luck to you. But let's get that first. And I just, the comment that Aaron just said, Howie's on the hot seat now. So let's see if he drafts a quarterback this year or what he's going to do to piss us all off. But I'm reeling right now, Gail. I'm reeling. We were waiting for it, but it's happened. So,
yeah, Chris, how you feeling?
Whew. I mean, on day 2 of the draft, at pick 53, as soon as they announced that they're taking Jalen Hurts, we were all live and we gave our reactions. And I said, I just had a feeling. Some of it was information we were being told, but mostly just a gut feeling that Carson's time in Philadelphia was coming to a close, and that if they were taking a quarterback that high, that they were losing faith in him and that they were starting to move the process, and they kind of flipped the sand timer and saying, like, Carson's time is going to be done. I thought it was going to be maybe next year, but obviously now he's not here anymore. I mean, it just shows you how much that Howie didn't want him on the team, that we're still taking a $33 million cap hit this year to get rid of him, and we're only getting a 3rd-round pick this year. And obviously, like, people are saying, well, hopefully we get a conditional first next year, but that stems off him being pretty successful in Indianapolis. So it's one of those things where, like, people are like, I don't want to root for him. Like, he's not wearing green anymore. Like screw him. He didn't want to play for the city, blah, blah. Everyone's going off different reports, but it's like, you want him to do well there because then we are the benefactors of a better pick. That being said, and hopefully Howie hits on these picks, people don't really have much faith in it. I mean, the big thing was I've been bracing for last year that Carson's time was going to end here. I didn't want it to. I'm a huge advocate of him on and off the field. I think he has done wonders here. Obviously, no one's perfect, but the guy fights. I mean, it's unfortunate that, like, the injuries and everything and the way it all turned out, but if there's no Carson Wentz, there's no Super Bowl. I'm not wearing the sweatshirt. A lot of us don't have a lot of the stuff hanging in our houses or the shirts on our back without him. And it's unfortunate. I mean, it sucks, though, because on Tuesday, people kind of, like, tipped me off that Carson was indeed going to Indianapolis soon. And I didn't want to break the story because it directly went back to people. And the whole thing was, people are really mad at Carson for not talking during the period, but people don't really put in consideration that, like, even normal businesses, people can't really talk. Like, maybe he signed a non-disclosure, can't really say that, but, like, maybe Carson was so quiet because he couldn't talk, and that he, being the guy that he is, was just trying to let things run as smoothly as possible, let Howie and his agents handle it. I mean, it's unfortunate. Hopefully the Eagles hit on these picks and move forward and get out of the cap mess and PR mess, because everyone's looking at us and kind of laughing, because even if Jalen Hurts ends up being successful, even if the Eagles ends up being successful in the next couple of years, people are going to be pointing at us saying, like, you really flop with the Carson Wentz stuff. You can blame him, you can blame Howie, but this is a really mismanagement when you're taking a $33 million hit with this.
Yeah. I mean, someone else who can talk and drive at the same time. Soko in the Batmobile right now. He's pulled over and he decided to jump on the pod because that's how serious it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's I want to go back to Aaron's comment. I don't know if you guys noticed me shaking my head. He said that, Howie's in the hot seat now, and what I think this really did was buy Howie at least 3 to 5 more years, honestly.
No!
Everybody's saying, I'm with you. I'm a Howie hater myself, but let's be honest. As soon as Carson Wentz got traded, we were accepting the fact that we were going into a rebuild. A rebuild is not a retool. We're not going to retool in one offseason and be competitive in 2021. So if we're being honest with ourselves, let's hope for Carson's health, and then, maybe we'll be competitive next year with the 2 first-round picks or after that season. But basically what trading Carson said to me was that they're embracing that rebuild and Howie's job is safe for the next 3 to 5 years. And that's upsetting. I know I've been the biggest advocate of fire Howie on the timeline. I did a full 10 years thread of every draft pick that he's missed on the timeline and then put it out in an article. Like, I understand how frustrated everybody is with Howie, but he's going to be here for, like I said, the next 3 to 5 years, regardless.
Yeah. Hopefully Tim can keep it real for us. Shout out to Tim in the chat here.
Yeah, I mean,
on the show here.
I got to kind of echo what everyone else is saying. Like this just wasn't a very good trade. We didn't get very good value. I mean, you're thinking about trading a starting caliber quarterback, obviously at the minimum. Like he's probably a franchise quarterback, but he's at least a starting caliber. And then with the draft picks, like we want him to do well next year so we can get that first round pick. But then that's also just going to kind of welcome that debate of like, did he do better just because he was surrounded by the level of skill that the Colts have, or did he do better just because he's not as bad a quarterback as he looked in 2020? So that's a situation where you just traded a guy that's having success. So it's that like typical Eagles thing where they get rid of someone, they just have a ton of success. They do have an offensive line, like one of the comments said. So I agree that's going to be a huge factor. So it's going to be interesting to see what ends up being of that second pick. But man, a second round pick this year would have been huge because, you know, Howie has a history of missing on those third round picks. So it's going to be rough.
I mean, at this point in time, it's kind of like, you know, we as a fan base are like, where do we go from here? And then when you look at this organization, you're like, do they have the mental fortitude to actually get us back in contention to be playing for championships? And I think what I say, they're imploding from within. It's something like that. I think when your players are not starting to trust the management, when you're having a place where coaches are starting to leave because, hey, I'll take a year off, better than deal with this shit, or just thinking about like future potential players wanting to come play in Philly. You're going to have to – we talked about changing the culture of this locker room. But you need to start changing the culture of this front office. And, like, as much as the heat has been on Howard Roseman, but the heat needs to be turned up like 110% on Jeffrey Lurie. I know this beautiful stadium you have behind us as our background is a beautiful. But you built this place. You got us a Super Bowl a couple years ago. But look, it is what it is. In the present day, your team and your the way that you're perceived across the NFL is becoming a joke. So, and you're starting to allow Howie Roseman to do things, and then people are starting to question like, how much is Jeffrey Lurie involved in a lot of these moves, and that could be a reason for the bad seasons in the last couple of years, and some of these players that have been picked. Is Howie Roseman a guy that just is actually the talking piece for Jeffrey Lurie? Because the word that I got from one player had said that he had never seen a GM and an owner meddle as much as he's ever saw in his career. And here we are. So it's interesting. Are you guys? I mean, what is the next move here? Does Kelsey?
Well, I think
Kelsey
we hold.
Kelsey's retiring. Yeah.
I think we hold
Kelsey's
Jeffrey
retiring.
Lurie. I know he's the owner, so what do you do? You know, it's his team, but it's like nobody wants to put him on the hot seat, and it's like you've allowed, like Gail said, Howie and him to meddle like that. Look what it's doing to our team. These guys aren't football guys. This isn't Madden, so I'm pretty pissed off that we're in a situation like this, and this is a complete rebuild. As I said earlier, you know, this isn't something, you know, that's just going to be, oh, whatever. That's why it's a third and then maybe a first round next year, because obviously they're not putting too much stock into it. I just think this is really sad to come to terms with because, you know, we all want to see our Eagles win. But I'm hopeful for Nick Sirianni and the staff, whatever they do with this draft. I'm just trying. I feel bad for him to be put in this situation. But I'm just trying to be hopeful for my team regardless. But I know it's not going to be fun next few years.
Now,
I was going to say, I'm definitely –
London.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say, I'm kind of with Soko with what he said. I think that Howie might be with us for a little bit, even if we do bad, because he's just like, he's that cockroach. He survives everything. He survives.
It's Jeffrey's lapdog, man.
He survives when the team's good. And like Gail just said, they both meddle so much. It's like they're connected to each other. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of with Soko on that. I think we might be stuck with him, and I hate it because I'm a Fire Howie guy all the way.
Well, Tim, we talked about it all year with 4th and John, every pregame show. And that was our biggest fear. And sure enough, he's still here.
Now we have Prime in the building here. Also, see, I mean, hey everyone, we are all working people over here. This is emergency pod here. Prime is checking in from the car as well. Prime, how you feeling? I mean, you got a mask on. Are you afraid of how I wrote?
I got a passenger with me.
Okay. How you feeling, my guy?
I couldn't be more disappointed to be an Eagles fan right now, man. Real talk. That's where the point I'm at right now. I'm so disappointed in this organization on how they handle that shit. The fan base. I really don't care who takes what way. I've been quiet for so long. My frustration, like, I think somebody had mentioned about having a hole in their stomach. That's how I feel right now. I feel empty inside, man. Knowing that we just got rid of our franchise quarterback for that little bit of shit that we just got in return. That's what I'm so upset about right now. I'm not taking nothing away from Jalen, man. Let me make that very clear. You're our quarterback going forward, depending on how he decides to do in this goddamn draft. But hey, listen, man. If you're a quarterback going forward, I bleed green. I'm gonna go ahead and stick. Trust me, I stuck with worse. The Detmer brothers, Rodney Pete, Randall, Donovan. I dealt with highs, lows. So you know what I mean. I got your back. You know what I mean, because you are a quarterback going forward. But still, how they handle the whole Carson Wentz, and I'm not gonna go ahead and just put it like I'm not gonna leave the situation alone. That the fact that he didn't say nothing or he didn't comment at all, that does bother me as a fan, somebody that's really, really stuck it out with this dude. I mean, going up against you guys, going up against other fan bases, going up against people here at work. Like, just the fact that no comment whatsoever, dude, did not make the situation any easier as well. But that's where I'm at right now, man. I mean, eventually I will get over this shit. But you're asking me how I feel? I'm pissed, man. I'm really pissed right now.
I mean, well said. I mean, Prime. At the end of the day, it's like, yeah. I mean, we all repped Wentz, and we saw the bright future. Even from the first time he set foot against the Cleveland Browns. I said pregame. I sat out there with a sign with E with a sign like thank you for a franchise quarterback, Cleveland. Blah blah blah. Like it's to see how it ended so quickly. Again, like Prime mentioned, like we've seen the organization not do right by like guys like Cunningham, like McNabb, and this is kind of like a wake up moment, and for the organization to start thinking about, you have to start building around your players, and whatever it takes to do that, whether it getting your guys weapons, how important that is. About building the right culture in the locker room where there's not so much people speaking out amongst the locker room. But I think the whole idea is that, and from what I've been hearing, is like Howie is the common denominator for a lot of the anger and a lot of resentment from some of these players in the locker room. The way that they're feeling about Howard Roseman, they'd go elsewhere to take less, because that's how the situation seems to be at this moment. And if there was a tell-all book of the players and what they would like to say about this team, I'd like to read it, because the stuff that I'm hearing is so wild that you can't talk about everything you hear, but the stuff that I've been hearing has been pretty wild. I think I'm just wondering where we go next from here.
Yeah, and I really think that one of the most disappointing things that has really come from all this is just not so much of the Wentz trade. Obviously, everyone's disgruntled about that, but just the fact of how we just moved on from an entire coaching regime in this past offseason. And our thought process going into this next year was somewhere along the lines of like, I would love to see Carson Wentz with a different coaching staff. See if he's able to turn this around. And because I think that a lot of us feel that Carson Wentz, there is a really good quarterback that is inside of him that can be brought back to life. And I think Frank Reich, don't get me wrong, I think he's the type of guy that Carson Wentz should be in his hands, and that is who can turn Carson Wentz around. But I think it's just super disappointing considering all that we gave up years ago in order to move up and go and acquire Wentz, that we're just throwing it away. And on top of that, now we've got no direction. Well, I thought that we were directionless like before this. I saw a comment that was in here and it mentioned how, it sounds like a funeral in here because I think we still have a lot of talent on this team. I think we have some talent on this team. To be honest with you, right now, where we stand prior to this draft, I think we're one of the worst teams in the league right now. So that's just where I'm sitting right now. We have an inexperienced coaching staff. We've got no franchise quarterback. We've got an offensive line that's in shambles. We've got no leader on defense. Convince me that we'll win more than 5 games this year. I can't.
Not just convince you, convince all of us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, guys. Like I'm from Cleveland, so like whenever anything like this goes down, kind of like what Gail was saying, how you guys were sitting out in the parking lot with D before his first game, saying like, "Oh, thank you, Cleveland, for our franchise quarterback," kind of thing. And now you turn around and like I see nothing but Browns fans popping jokes and shit on the timeline. It's like, if we really want to think about it, like as of right now, like we're down with like the Houston Texans of the league, or like the 2000s Browns, or like the Chargers on draft night whenever Eli Manning requests a trade. Like that's how low this organization is. And I said it in the group chat before we came on in here, but I could honestly see us being that type of organization where like we pick somebody on draft night and they're like, nah, I don't want to go to Philly.
Yeah, I can see it.
Imagine when some pulls like an Elway. He's like, Elway was supposed to go to the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
And he backed out of that.
I mean, it's bad,
Eli
man.
with the Chargers, yeah.
Like we almost like if you put up a poll and said, would you be willing to literally surround the building, human wall, so that Howie couldn't draft the picks? It would be 100%. And like that's bad. That a fan base
Could be a lot of people.
Like people would like jump in front of his car to stop him from drafting these picks. And that's the thing. It's like no matter what compensation you got, it's like, do you trust this guy to lead your team? And then on top of it is like you hear all these things about like, oh, like Howie, like who's the big thing is like everyone's like once out, like everyone's taking everything like everything's pointing back to him. It's like, but then Schefter's like, it's not coming from him, it's not coming from his agents. So who's it coming from? It's coming from Howie, because the dude, he succeeded in fooling so many fans, and like it got to the point where, like it was so annoying, like people just fell right into it. Like everyone's like, oh, like this guy doesn't want to play for the city, this and that, and he didn't say a word. And like everyone can say he's not saying a word because he doesn't care. It's like, what if he's handcuffed and he can't talk? And the one thing with him is like, hey, go, Prime.
No, I'm sorry, Chris. That's the thing, man. I didn't mean to cut you off. That's the thing that's upsetting too. I just read a comment there that our quarterback is acting like a prima donna. Our whole organization is acting like a fucking prima donna. Nobody, not our general manager, not our president, not our owner, nobody took the fucking initiative to come out and say anything about anything. I mean, there's organizations that are worse than us, fan base that are worse than us, and we get at least 2 comments out of them. We didn't get shit out of nobody. So I'm not just going to put it on Carson not to say anything. You're right, Chris. It might be the fact that he might be handcuffed. He didn't get the ability or the chance to go ahead and say anything because of the control that this asshole Howie wants to go ahead and put on.
Yo, Prime.
Drive safe, Prime. Don't get too heated now.
Prime about to swerve real quick. No, but I mean,
somebody else off.
Again, like whatever the BS that we've all had to deal with as a fan base, or what this team has internally has had to deal with, all eyes are on Howie. Like, what is that? Was that a Tupac album? All eyes on me.
All eyes on me.
All eyes on me.
All eyes on Howie.
All eyes on me. Howie has got all eyes on him, but I've shifted my eyes to Jeffrey Lurie. Jeffrey Lurie has to take up blame, and like Prime said, I am so interested. I am so interested in watching this press conference and seeing what they say. The delicate words they choose, because they know that every word is going to be picked apart. Because and you're going to have to look at the fan base and say, how did we get here? How did we pay a man hundreds of millions of dollars, and 1 year later you trade him? Or how could you go from I support my quarterback, I give him the money, and then I draft a quarterback in the second round? Like, I understand. Like, I understand what I've seen from Carson Wentz. I went back and watched the film. Hopefully, all you people have. I understand how he got here and how alarming it was to watch him as bad he was, as his mechanics were in week 1, to the last snap that he had in the Green Bay Packers game. He was a former shell of himself. So if they saw something in him that they couldn't believe that he could get back from, this is where it was at. Because you were like, we're not the trade value. As soon as they sat him, they knew what they were going to do. They knew how he was going to react. They knew what it was going to do, what it was going to spark. Everybody knew that. So if they put him on the field and he played 4 terrible more games, his stock would have even dropped even lower. But again, in the NFL, people believe they can fix people. I think Frank Reich, and he is the right guy. It will suck. Like the fact that we have to root on the Colts so we can get that first round pick.
Yeah.
Carson's got a solid
to be
offensive line
man,
in front of him, man. I really think Carson has a strong chance for success there. That offensive line, he's got offensive weapons just falling out of his ass. I mean,
Phillip Rivers at the age of 97 did pretty well, so I think he will.
Absolutely, man. He's going to kill it over there. He's going to shit on everybody. I hope he shits on everybody's fantasy. I hope he kills your fantasy. I hope he kills your
I'll be taking
football
him.
pool for the week. He's going to shit on everybody. And I'm telling you right now, I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I'm getting me a Carson Wentz Indianapolis Coach jersey.
I got him in the bathroom.
Put me in the bathroom. I don't care.
You're going to bathroom him, huh?
Oh, man.
I mean, dude, the one problem with here is when it comes to like, it's just super recency bias and like bias of all how it goes. Like, dude, you see other quarterbacks struggle and people are like, well, why is he struggling? And then people literally go through the analysis like what's going on from snap to throw and then after. And then when it comes to him, it's like everything's his fault, blah, blah, blah. And then in the Super Bowl, like the thing, like people were talking about Mahomes struggling with an offensive line, and immediately everyone's like, don't you dare compare like the two talents of Mahomes and Wentz. It's like, you're not comparing the talents of the two players. The point is that if someone as good and as talented as Mahomes is struggling because he's running for his life, because someone who's getting paid $20 million less than Mahomes and Wentz, and who you don't respect or think he's nearly as close, he's going to struggle. I mean, we set a record for the most offensive line changes. We had 10 plus injuries. I mean, dude, I'm not absolving the guy's issues. Like, Wentz failed in so many ways. He hurt himself. He wasn't good in the clean pocket. But at the same time, it's like he played some of his best football against the best teams. Against Baltimore, second half of the game, he was great. Washington, the first game of the year, the first half was phenomenal, and then against the Steelers, he was phenomenal. That's why it was so bizarre. Like it was such an unprecedented thing to see a guy that could look like an MVP candidate, and then he would regress and look like he forgot what he was doing before he even started playing football. And the thing is, they fail to acknowledge how bad it was around him. I mean, the play calling was bad. The usage of the players was bad. Like, there's a reason why the coaching staff is gone. Like, and there's a reason why Carson's gone. It's like, it was complete, like, failure, top to bottom, and people should be focusing on that and not just Carson Wentz, because he's one player and he's not here anymore. So let's talk about how we're going to rebuild, how we're going to keep Howie out of the building during draft night. Like, I don't know, man.
Change those codes. You got to change those lock codes.
I said it
Yeah,
earlier.
we could definitely do that.
Yeah.
I said
But I
it
just want to give a
earlier.
shout out to all the people in the chat. Again, if you want to chime in, if you want to speak your piece. I know there's some real spicy. Shout out to Fab down here.
We lose Gale.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
come
Singing?
on.
I'm hearing some auto tune.
Howie hacked the broadcast.
Howie Roseman got to him and pulled the
Yeah.
plug. man.
Howie Roseman got it,
Pull the
man.
plug,
He got
baby.
it. He went through the Matrix and he got him.
But
no,
Mally, go back to what you were saying, man.
Yeah.
I said it earlier in the week on the timeline too. I would love to see anybody who's criticizing Carson Wentz right now go out there and get smacked in the face 116 times in 12 games, 11 and a half games by NFL defensive ends and NFL linebackers and tell me that you're not skittish and you can make a good pass in the NFL.
But it's like, oh, if he's injury prone, like, how did he not get hurt this year? The dude got tossed around every single game.
Yeah. And
I got
if you look
destroyed,
at-
and you mentioned it earlier when you said about the Colts were going to do things to add pieces around that first and second round pick, and it's probably exciting that Ballard's going to make great moves to build around Carson. That's exactly what we didn't do for Carson Wentz, and instead you see all these holes and all these problems. It's like, well, once again we're back to Howie effing Roseman. And people can talk trash on Carson Wentz all they want. He's gone now. I'm not out here like trying to defend him, but the point is, we talked about the last couple of weeks. He hasn't said anything, and Chris mentioned it. A bunch of people mentioned it now. Maybe he wasn't allowed to say things because certain things had happened, which a lot of people don't know about, and that is the case, guys. So maybe pump the brakes. He's a good dude, and Howie lit this thing on fire, and it's been on fire ever since the Seahawks concussion game. So the writing was on the wall. Just a lot of us didn't want to see it. It's just hard to take in right now, and it's scary to think of what Howie. He got rid of everyone in his way. Now he's old King Joffrey out here by himself. So I'm scared shitless.
So now we're sitting here. We're sitting here at the 6th pick overall. We've been talking about for weeks. I know, Chris, you and Gail were just recording a Jamar Chase episode, talking about we've been dying. We've been frothing at the mouth thinking about these wide receivers that are coming out. This throws a total monkey wrench in the entire thing right here.
Yeah,
because I'm sitting right here at the 6th pick overall, and like this is the wheelhouse to go get a franchise quarterback. So if we're already here, are you guys sitting put at 6, or are you trading up possibly to get Fields or Taylor? Like where's your guys' minds at right now? Or Wilson, I'm sorry.
It's really tough. I mean, it all starts on where the Eagles really view Jalen Hurts. I mean, Adam Schefter an hour ago had a report that they're going to bring in someone to compete with Jalen. That could be coming from Howie to try to bump up the price and value of the 6th pick and try to get someone to move up. Who knows? Because there's been rumors all week saying that the Eagles are going to take a quarterback at 6. Is that true? Or is Howie saying that to pump up the value? My whole thing is the Eagles, like the failure of Wentz, it's done. But the thing is, you have to take the failure as a lesson. You can't continue to do the same thing. It's the method of insanity. I mean, don't fail Hurts like you did Wentz. We were never in a position to get a player this talented like Jamar Chase because Wentz never had us this bad. Now we are going to be in a position to get a guy like him. So you build around him, and if you put him in such a position that he can't fail almost unless it's on him, that if he does fall on his face, it points at one person, it points at Howie, and then you at least have the players in place for another quarterback. Because if you bring in Jamar Chase, you get Nick Sirianni to bring out the best of Dallas Goedert, the best of Miles Sanders, Jalen Reagor, John Hightower, Quez Watkins, and you protect him with the line. Because I don't think that we're going to hopefully we don't have as many injuries as last year, but it's a big difference. I mean,
who knows?
I think you have to roll with Jalen Hurts at this point, and you just give the dude as much help on and off the field to succeed and just roll with it. Am I interested in other quarterbacks? Absolutely, because you don't really know what Jalen Hurts is yet. That being said, you don't know what Jalen Hurts is and what he could be with a better offensive line and weapons around him.
Absolutely.
I think you got to give the Jalen Hurts a chance, especially since you used a second round pick. But you also got to look at the fact that you are at pick 6. And this is something I've been talking about for weeks. Quarterback has been a possibility even before Wentz was traded, because this is Howie Roseman. He talks about quarterback factory. Well, you're in a position right now to get yourself a franchise quarterback. And Jalen Hurts was a second round pick. So maybe they don't feel that way. And look, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I want us to get someone like Jamar Chase, trade back, get a Kyle Pitts. I mean, I want to see a playmaker on this team. But I mean, Howie, and if you're looking at it through his eyes, a quarterback is on the table now, man. It's over 50% here. I had Chris and I had Evan, both of you guys on this past week. And it's, dude, we talked about this possibility, and here we are. And oh my God, that little turd could definitely take one of these quarterbacks. And, but once again, how many times do you find yourself in the top 10 at 6 right now to get yourself a franchise QB? So they're definitely thinking about it.
Yeah, I want to address one of the comments in here. So it says right here, I love Wentz, but these takes are horrible. Okay. And then it says Wentz had help in 2017 and 2018. It's like, yeah, and what happened? He had 33 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions, 100.1 quarterback rating. The next year, 21 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions, 102% rating. And he's been like a career 69% completion rating guy. I mean, that's the point, though. It's like he had help in those years. He had a little bit better protection. And what happened? He was successful. And that's what just shows you the last 2 years when he didn't have as much help, when we had all the injuries, when his play calling really regressed. I mean, we were barely using Miles. And then it's crazy, though. I mean, the slide that we have with this guy is insane. I mean, you saw what he did at the end of the year when he finally started catching on last year. And they won the 4 games. And then unfortunately, Jadeveon Clowney speared him in the back of the head. And then that just started the clock on all this.
Yeah, and I'd love to live in the past, too, and talk about 17 and 18. But let's be real. It's not a take. It's the truth. He had help in those years. And then what has he done the last couple of years? Oh, he drafted Jalen Hurts and Davian Taylor. Oh, Kayvon Wallace after. Oh, you're right. So he did give him. Oh, no,
you forgot
didn't.
Clayton Thorson.
And DK Metcalf and Justin
Thorson.
Jefferson. Oh, wait. No, he didn't do that. Yeah, thanks for your input.
I mean, looking at that 2017, 2018 team, the year that we won the Super Bowl, I'm looking at a guy like Jason Peters, right? Who was, he's a Hall of Fame player, great player, but he was very clearly in the back end of his career. That should have been his final run right there. And then we're moving forward into last season with Jason Peters, and albeit it was because of injuries, but he was on our starting line. What do you expect to happen? We didn't continue to put people around Carson Wentz to help him succeed. We just kind of hoped that we would be able to string out these guys as long as possible. It doesn't work like that. You need to constantly supply help around him. And what we did to him with the offensive line was a complete disservice. I mean, Carson Wentz was hit more than any other Eagles quarterback ever this past season. So
he played 11 and a half games.
Yeah.
He was first in sacks taken and second in quarterback hits. That was great.
Man, his first 11 dropbacks this season, he was hit 6 times and he was sacked 4 times. So again, that's how it started, and kind of like that was the story of this year and this season. Mm-hmm. But I mean, what did I miss? I have bad connection over here.
Oh, while you were gone, we got into the stock market a little bit because we thought maybe that would cheer us up.
Oh yeah,
Dogecoin.
Okay. We gotta figure out something to keep us alive. Do we have any? Do we have any takers in the comments to tell us why we should be drafting a quarterback at 6, or anybody on this show right now that wants to talk about the idea?
That's what we were just talking about.
Well, that is
we
what
just
we were
talked about
actually
it.
just talking about. In reality, was that I was saying how we're already sitting here at 6, and we need a franchise quarterback. Gail, where do you stand? And would you trade up? Would you stay put at 6? Would you move forward next year with Hurts? What's your plan?
Right now, I'm on Team Jamar Chase. I feel like if you can't and I can't say that I believe Hurts is the answer after, you want me to judge his career after 4 games? How the dude didn't have an off season, didn't have OTAs. So how can I sit here even?
Bro.
It is the situation. But if I'm gonna think these goofies in Howie Roseman, whoever is the starting quarterback is going to be his meal ticket. Is going to be his longevity for his job security. So if he doesn't believe in Jalen Hurts, he's going to get himself a quarterback that he can groom. And but again, it's
how many fucking rebids does Howie get to be a part of? For real? How many does he get to be a part of?
Too many.
I'll give you the Tom Brady. I'll give you the Tom Brady.
But at least we have the target is on his back. There's no one else to blame it. You can't blame anyone else, man.
We thought
here.
that the target's been on his back already.
Yeah.
Like we literally thought when John Dorsey was in the building this past year, we're like, all right, Howie's in the hot seat. Finally, we're gonna have some guy that is competent that is drafting for us. Okay, well now John Dorsey's gone, and we've been told that Howie Roseman has full control. After last year, after we saw what he did this past season, after we see how he supplies this team, like I have no confidence that they're ever going to break that. Like whatever Howie Roseman has on Jeff Lurie, that shit he's taken to the grave.
Yeah,
he's got the nudes. He's got the nudes.
I saw something in the chat, and I was actually going to say it too, and I agree with the person in the chat. I forget who it was. It popped up so fast. But if we roll with Hurts and he proves to not be the guy, and we're a bad team next year, we're probably back in the same position. So taking a quarterback this year might not help us in the long run because you don't get Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts, any of those guys. You find out about Hurts for 1 year, and if he stinks, we're looking at next year then. Maybe, the kid from North Carolina, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Howell?
Sam Howell.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sam Howell. Yeah, I was trying to remember. I was like, it's something like that.
I just think if you haven't learned from last year, when are you going to start building around your quarterback? Like,
gotta give him something to throw to.
When are we gonna get him alive? Even Jalen Hurts got sacked 13 times. You're talking 65 sacks this season. 65 sacks, 160 quarterback hits.
Yep.
Yeah, our quarterbacks are taking a beating at the end of the day. I mean, that's you have to start looking at. I mean, again, if Swell's there, you're like, hey, yeah, I'd take a lineman if he's there.
Swell's a monster, yeah.
And look,
I don't know, man. I could see him drafting a quarterback, though. I could see it.
I could see it. It's on the table.
Look at the difference, though, between Indianapolis and Philadelphia. I mean, that we've been the ones that have been tied together this entire offseason. Doesn't their offensive line have 4 out of their 5 offensive linemen? Aren't they first-round picks?
Oh, they're good.
And it was 5.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah,
really
so that's what I'm saying is like that is the formula in order to get a good offensive line.
Starts in the trenches, baby.
It really does. You don't just you can't do patchwork there. Yeah,
and that's exactly what they're doing at 21. They're going left tackle because that's all they need to protect Carson. They already have the weapons because they've been building it. They've had the pieces in place for a couple of years now. All they needed was the quarterback. They thought that Rivers might be it, so they gave him a 1-year rental. Whenever that didn't work out, they said, okay, let's go ahead and give this, talks with the Eagles a shot or whatever. Now they have a young franchise quarterback. All they have to do is get a left tackle to protect him, and they have 5 offensive linemen that are first-round picks again.
Yep.
And that's the thing, though. Like, what do you guys think it takes for Howie to get fired? I mean, I think does Hurts falling on his face, does that do it? Or will it take like Carson Wentz going to Indianapolis and winning a Super Bowl and rubbing it in his face? Like, do you think that would get it done? Because like it sucks though, because like I don't know what it is to get rid of the guy, because like it is insane, because what he has done, like his poor drafts and decisions minus 2017 is what gets you here. I mean, the draft class of Nate Gary, he's the only player in that draft that's left on this team, and we would pay to get that guy off our roster right now. I mean, Derek Barnett was a first-round pick. Yeah, like Derek Barnett, we don't even know if we want to keep him for $10 million. Yeah, like it's that bad right now. I mean, there's not a lot of blue chip players. We're down on the cap, and we have over 23 free agents right now, and we're taking on a huge cap hit with Wentz not being here just to get rid of him.
And I don't see nobody else wanting to come here.
It's funny you said that, Chris, because like I mean, you guys know I'm really into the numbers, everything else like that. So we're only saving $800K against the cap, if I remember right, by trading Wentz. Take on the NFL record $33.8 million in dead cap. We have the second oldest roster in the NFL, and depending on what cap sits, we're around negative $41 million in cap space, on top of already being the oldest roster. So whenever we got into the whole discussion about what's going to get Howie fired, the only thing that's going to get Howie fired is if we're in this position in 5 years, though. Like I said, as soon as we traded Carson Wentz, we signed off on this rebuild. Jeff Lurie for whatever reason, signed off on this rebuild with Howie. He's going to let Howie do his thing, like I said, for the next 3 to 5 years. So the only thing that's going to get him fired is if some scandal comes out or we're in the same spot in 5 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Jimmy Blanco.
I'm a plot on that scandal.
Jimmy Blanco brings up a Chip Kelly, Sam Hinkie-esque path to our future. What do you guys think? All right, we're already in shambles right now. We're in cap hell. Do we just dive all the way in? We just sell the team, acquire assets, fix our cap situation, then come back in a couple of years?
That's pretty
Where
much.
do you guys stand on that?
Yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing.
I don't want to say
probably.
that's what we should do. I just have a feeling that that's what we're going to end up doing.
Yeah, well,
It's already begun.
but guys
Yeah,
like
let's look-
Fletcher Cox should not moved on because like those they're dead.
Got to
cap, so-
restructure Fletcher.
Yeah.
That's like a $23 million cap hit.
I'm not talking
Yeah.
about everyone
They're
that he
gonna cap
listed, but I'm
themselves
talking
into
about
nothing.
I'm talking about dumping some of our higher assets that we would be able to acquire some more draft picks because that's where we need to build through is rookie contracts right now.
Yep.
Please.
Yeah, so let's
Yeah,
look
I think
at
we
it.
should.
Let's look at it from like a
It's
core
on the table.
perspective.
Yeah.
Who are your core players right now? You got Lane, you got Brandon Brooks,
Ma-
you got Darius Slay,
Miles
you got
Sanders.
Fletcher Cox. Yeah,
Miles
you got
Sanders.
Miles Sanders.
Dallas
Miles
got it,
Sanders is
baby.
Dallas Goddard. He's what, 20? He'll be 26 if I remember right. Miles is turning 25. Other than that, you're 3 big players. Fletcher's turning 30 this season. Lane Johnson turns 32 this season. Brandon Brooks turns 33 at the end of the season. And they're all on massive contracts. Brandon Brooks is the highest paid right guard. Lane Johnson's the highest paid right tackle. Fletcher Cox is the 3rd highest paid defensive tackle and has the highest defensive tackle cap in the NFL this season. So at what point do you look at it as a fire sale? You know, these are guys that at some point we knew were going to have to go. So is it really a fire sale
Yeah.
as much as it is a retooling of the roster at some point?
We've talked about it for months. That
tomato,
all those
tomato.
guys had to
Yeah.
go. Exactly. So it wasn't just this. This all had to be done when you're 40 million in cap hell. And we talked about the fact that you're taking on this 33 million dead cap. The cap savings is 852,000, like 938, something along those lines. Next year, though, $30 million saved. So we talk about a few year rebuild. You got to look at the long term. And I get it. This sucks and it's a crap haul. I don't like it. But if that pick turns into a first, and sure, maybe it's in the 20s, even late 20s, I still am going to get excited next year if we suck and we've got a really high pick and then maybe a lower end pick. And you never know. There's some really nice young pieces on this team. I'm trying to stay optimistic here, but trust me, for the last couple hours, I've been straight pissed off at Howie. But that's been the last few days. We've heard the chatter of what he's been actually up to. And it's hard to be excited about a move like this. You know what I mean? And especially when you know a rebuild's coming the next few years.
Yeah, I feel like with
man.
Howie, I've said this a lot, that like his weakness, like we've all talked about, is the draft, and he sometimes does well in free agency and trades. This time, obviously, he didn't do well in the trades. But I think that I've been saying this for a long time. That sets you up with an old team, an expensive team, and then probably because of the old, an injury-prone team. And in the past couple of years, we've been old, we've been expensive, and we've had a lot of injuries. It's like our players' average age is going to be the same almost as the coach's average age at this point. We're moving in that direction right now.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it's tough.
It's crazy.
One thing I like about the thought of getting rid of Lane and getting rid of Brandon on top of already getting rid of Carson is kind of what Jimmy alluded to, is the cap savings for the 2022 offseason. So you get rid of Lane, you get rid of Brandon Brooks, and you already got rid of Carson. If you look at it that way, you go into the 2022 offseason with $84 million in cap space, and you don't necessarily have to nail every single draft pick like you do right now with the way our cap situation is.
Yeah, the big thing is, like, if you look at what the Miami Dolphins did with Flores in their first year, like, they were bad the first year of Flores, but you could tell that they were building something. I mean, they were competitive. They had blue chip guys. You saw guys like Xavier Howard, and you saw other guys that were like stepping up. Devontae Parker started to develop a little bit more under the system. And the big thing is that they traded big name guys like Minka Fitzpatrick and some of their guys that were going to get a lot of money. Like, the Eagles are trying to do that now. The big thing is you have to hit on those picks. So let's say the Eagles aren't that good next year, but they have another high pick, and they have the Colts pick, and then they have $84 million in cap. You can mirror kind of what the Miami did and surprise people and have like a really fast rebuild. That being said, is you need to make sure that the coaches are developing these guys and making sure that you have the right mentality on and off the field. You need to make sure that the medical staff is finally getting stuff done, because it's honestly been a disgrace the last 3-4 years with the medical staff, because they'll say, oh, this guy's out for a week and we're going to evaluate later. And then he ends up being on an IR about 5 hours later. I mean, it's pretty crazy. But that being said, is there's hope there. I mean, the problem is we're old and there's not too many blue chip guys, but if Nick Sirianni and his new staff, who has a proven track record the last couple of years developing guys, can turn the tide. I mean, there's a lot to look forward to, but they have to get it right. And Howie needs to pass the keys over for the draft, because he's not getting it done. And all the rumors, and from what we hear, is the scouts are picking the right guys. Howie's just going rogue and not listening to them.
That's only in Howie fashion. I think. But I mean, the one thing, like if this team is going to move forward with Jalen Hurts, you have a quarterback who's working in that rookie deal, right? That window frame, and then you have a quarterback that's paying. He wasn't going to play for like $1.2 million. The next 4 years, it's going to be like $6 million in total is what we're paying him. So you have a quarterback here at a cheap rate. If he can ball on a budget, that would help. But again, I saw a couple tweets out there saying that they're going to make him compete. They even announced that it's his job right now. But I think that's the problem with a football team with no identity. You take on the identity of your head coach, your quarterback. We have a rookie head coach who has training wheels put on him by Howie Roseman and Lurie. We have a team that doesn't even know who their starting quarterback is. I mean, in theory we could say Jalen Hurts, but it is what it is. Right now we don't even know who our starting quarterback is. So they're going to have to nail the draft. It's the most important piece is the guy who's selecting these players. Hopefully Howie Roseman can listen to his scouts, because I think there's going to be a whole bunch of turmoil if they go another year and they go in the opposite direction of what their scouts are saying. Soko, I know didn't a couple scouts get fired earlier this year?
Yeah, we had
Eagles.
2 scouts get released, and they were regional scouts, so not any of the big guys, but it was the head of the Southeast and the assistant to the Southwest, if I remember right.
At least we brought in a new medical staff. That gets me excited. But the cap hit is 1.36 mil, I believe, on Jalen Hurts. So it's very low cost, but you use a second round pick. So I'd like to find out what we could get from the kid, to be honest with you. And to answer the other question, it wasn't really a complete sentence from Gary or Gary, something like that. It's something about why we can't see. I think the fact is we do see that Howie created this crap drama that now forced us to make a trade for a third and conditional second. So that is what people are upset about. We do see it.
And Carmen asked, why is Lurie so blind? I don't think he's as blind as we might think he is. I think he's a part of this. He's a part of this problem. Like, and if he knows how he's taking the heat for some of the shit he's pulled behind the scenes, then for him it's a good place to be. But you can't. There's no more running. There's no hiding. We're all sitting here, just like Eagle fans are feeling a certain way right now. You're like, hey, don't mess with us. Don't mess with our Eagles. This is our happy place. We're passionate about our birds, and if you start messing with the vibe of the Eagles, people take highly offense to that.
And so let's think about this dynamic as well. So we just did the entire season with no fans, right? And Lord knows they would have heard us during these games. Can you imagine how short the leash is going to be this year if there are fans in that stadium? God bless whoever ends up being the quarterback of this team, because you are stepping into the fucking gauntlet, man. We, as a fan base, everybody is angry with what is going on in this organization. There's no confidence going on. But if I know Eagles fans as well as I think I know Eagles fans, they're still going to show up to these games. They're going to make themselves heard.
Yeah.
I love
Well, they're
Hunter's
going to hear it,
comment.
dude. Whether we're allowed in or not, I'll be yelling from the parking lot.
That's a great comment by Hunter right there.
Yeah, Hunter Doyle says, hear me out. Round 1, Fields. Round 2, Trask. Round 3, Mond. Round 3, Newman. Round 3, Franks. Ehlinger, Book, Costello.
That's a Howie draft.
That would be
that's a factory right there.
That factory is rolling now, baby.
Yeah, right? Come on,
I mean, again, our QB position right now is a question mark. I had posted a tweet yesterday, just realizing how bad it has been at times. The fact that we had Mark Sanchez, Tim Tebow, and Sam Bradford on the roster at the same time,
and Barkley
Jalen Hurts over any of them,
and Barkley.
It tells you where this this franchise has been in moments. So I do not trust the front office right now. That's the only thing that keeps me up.
Playoff game.
And one thing that I think is kind of being not pushed aside or anything like that, but dude, it is hard to find a franchise quarterback. You don't just stumble upon one on the street. I think we really took for granted while we had Carson Wentz here. Just that was that one less thing that we had to worry about and filling the holes out on this team. You just mentioned we had a team that had Tim Tebow, Matt Barkley, Mark Sanchez, all on the same roster. That is what we're heading back towards right now. We're headed back towards just complete utter confusion at the quarterback position. And I think there are going to be people that were, pushing Wentz out of town. And don't get me wrong, I kind of wanted this trade to go down. I wanted better return for it. But there's going to be a lot of Wentz apologists, I think, next year when we see what we are actually moving forward with in the quarterback position.
And let's be honest here. Just let me play devil's advocate with everybody for a minute, including the audience. Shoot me if I'm wrong. I thought some reporters around the organization that are a lot closer to the situation than I am. Obviously, I'm in Florida. I can't help that I'm not around Philly. I would be if I could, but I'm not. And they were saying that there's legitimately players on the offense that hate Carson, hate him as a player and a person, do not like who he is, doesn't like the narrative that he pushes. So if it's a quarterback that can't get along with their players and can't get along with their coach and isn't getting along with the front office, maybe he's just not right for your team. And that's a fact that I don't think a lot of us are accepting at this point.
No, I mean, as much meddling.
It's not that we're not accepting it. It's just that it would just be nice to hear something about it, regardless. If that is the truth, okay, say something about it. Everybody feels like they got this stuff that they want to get off their chest, and get it off your chest. I mean, it's hearsay, all the time. I just want to know facts, but not knowing nothing at all, I can't tell you whether I believe it, whether I don't believe it. Who knows? Hopefully something will come out in the next couple of days. You know what I mean? Maybe Carson will go ahead and drop a pair and speak up about it in Indianapolis. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But that's just, again, as a fan, frustrating knowing that we can't get nothing out of anybody about the situation, period, is where it's just. And I want a real quick comment because I'm about to go ahead and step off. But anybody that's trying to get rid of their tickets because we're going to suck, I'll take them.
I'll go as Bubble Boy. I'll be there.
I'll travel to Cincinnati. I'll take them.
I've heard some fans already like, "Oh, I'm about to give up my tickets." I was like, "Hey,
hell yeah,
if everything's good, I'll take them."
Tickets.
I'll at me.
Don't. First of all, fan base, don't be burning no jerseys. Don't be.
No. And if you're like that, you've never even belonged here because we've been way through worse, man. If you could see Dawkins and Reggie White leave, trust me, this isn't that bad, guys.
I even
Don't
saw
burn
someone
your
earlier
clothes.
before I hopped on. They put up the video that was like become the cliche joke, like you fake like you're gonna burn the jersey, and he was doing it on top of his bed. I'm like, you imagine if you lit your entire room up just for a dumb.
That would be awesome.
Like that would be freaking stupid.
I feel like that's what that guy
Don't play with
deserves.
fire.
That would be awesome.
Fire.
Yeah.
Trying to
I feel
burn
like
his
I
own
want to see that
clothing.
video. So.
Yeah. Gotta burn
Yeah,
your own
I mean,
clothes.
But before we get out of here, guys, does anyone else have anything they wanted to get off their chest before we get out of here?
Yeah,
Go
I mean,
Birds.
I've been doing a bunch of shows for the draft, and like this is the perfect draft for Howie to get it right. We have 10 picks now. We have an additional third round pick. The guys are there. It just comes down to them evaluating and taking the right guys. The linebackers the group is really deep. The safeties are really deep. The running backs are really deep. The wide receiver class is probably better than last year. And last year they lit the NFL on fire. I mean, look at what those guys did. I mean, it really comes down to like them just doing their jobs for once, because we were at the Senior Bowl. We were looking at these guys, and that wasn't even including the other guys that aren't seniors, like the Jamar Chase and the guys that weren't even at the Senior Bowl. Like, alone at the Senior Bowl, they could have taken 10 guys with the 10 picks, and they would have starters across the board. So the whole thing is you got to get it right. Like, we got to build a foundation with the right guys, with the right build the right culture, and move forward. And the whole thing is you got compensation for Carson. Don't waste the picks. You know what I mean? Because everyone talked about the Browns getting all these first round picks, and they sucked for so long. They didn't hit on those picks for a while. What happened? What's his name? Andrew Berry came in, and Dorsey came in, and what did they do? They built a roster, and they got them into the playoffs finally. Same thing with Kansas City. He built a roster there too, and they got all the running backs. They got Mahomes, and look what happened. That we need to follow that and finally get some blue chip players here.
Yeah, I'm over the whole cap guru thing and Howard Roseman. I need Howard Roseman to be a draft guru. That he is not, and he's already showed us that. But I feel like we need a draft guru in here to pick the right pieces. You know what saves money is nailing the draft. You nail the draft, you don't have to worry about the cap because you're nailing the draft, and you can bring in the free agent pieces. That's the most important piece, and that's what I will leave you with. Hopefully, we get there. Evan, did you have anything to do?
I was just going to say that I don't want Howie Roseman being my bag of my groceries guru. Get him the hell out of here.
I'll just say that Chris said the right stuff right there. We have to hit on the draft, and we all know that, and we're all scared that it's Howie Roseman. But Chris hit the nail on the head. This draft is loaded. So let's try to be a little bit excited, and maybe, just maybe, they'll get something right for once. I know everybody's going to kill me for it. Now, don't you dare. Howie sucks. I get it. I hate him. But let's try to be positive, guys, and go Birds.
Go Birds.
All right, I don't want any of our guys to get fired here. I know we're all working at the moment, but we had to do an emergency pod. And again, Eagle fans, buckle up. It's going to get very interesting. But as always, for me and the guys, we'll see you guys soon. And fly, Eagles, fly.